If basketball is poetry in motion, then sneakers are the soul of its rhythm. Today, a player's shoes are a reflection of who they are both on and off the court. But there was a time when basketball shoes were more for function than fashion, more standardized than personalized. The evolution of the signature sneaker industry is a subplot of basketball history that has shaped culture and redefined what it means to dominate the shoe game. The beginning of this story goes way back. We're talking before the NBA even existed. Before Nike and Adidas, there was Converse, and before Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, there was Chuck Taylor. The first ever signature athlete was actually first hired as a salesman. Back in the 1920s, basketball was still considered an emerging sport, let alone a profession with stars that could influence culture. Chuck Taylor was a semi-pro player out of Indiana before working for Converse. He was tasked with peddling the non-skid, Converse's first model designed specifically for basketball. Looks familiar, right? It was the first iteration of what we know today as the Chuck Taylor All-Stars. All the work he did helping to perfect the design and traveling the country to put on clinics earned his signature a spot on the ankle patch in 1932. As the game of basketball spread rapidly across the country, the Chuck Taylors became synonymous with the sport. Being the first shoe of its kind, the Chuck Taylor was considered peak performance technology at the time. The double-layered canvas upper offered flexibility that partnered with a rubber sole for stability and arch support. It's a minimalistic design that has stood the test of time.
Technically, the Converse All-Star is the first signature shoe in the history of basketball. And then it honestly took a while for basketball sneakers to kind of develop the sense of a signature headliner. In the 50s and 60s, you got a lot of brands that approached star players and they would have that player endorse the shoe. And it would be something along the lines of, Bob Cousy recommends the PF Flyer basketball shoe.
This became the business model for years to come. Players partnering with brands to wear and promote their shoes. The monopoly Converse had in performance basketball shoes began to dwindle as technology advanced and newer designs were being endorsed by bigger stars. Although Adidas snatched the torch from Converse in the late 1960s to become the leading brand across professional basketball, that top spot was quickly challenged by Puma and Walt Clyde Frazier, who brought something to the table that no other signature athlete could at the time.
Walt just had swag, man. Obviously, he was in a huge market in New York. You know, that was sort of peak culture in terms of music and fashion, and they mixed basketball in that with the Clyde.
A swagger like Clyde's was desperately needed to take the business of signature shoes to the next level. The Puma Clyde was the first byproduct of a brand designing a shoe for a player, where in the past, the concept of a signature athlete only went as far as endorsing a shoe that already existed. With a low-cut, flat-soled suede silhouette that had his name etched in gold under the Puma logo, Clyde was the first to create an identity through design and be the personification of his own shoe. He broke into new territory by combining self-expression, fashion, and performance all into one sneaker. This opened the door for brands to completely reshape their approach to athlete endorsements. Years later, Nike landed a man that could fly. And soon after, the sneaker industry would enter a different stratosphere. Welcome aboard Air Jordan. Today's flight will be captained by the one they call
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
A spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
The reputation precedes itself. Michael Jordan absolutely changed the game both in basketball and in sneakers. Of course, Jordan's greatness is largely responsible for the empire he's built, but it was Nike that first planted the seed that would blossom into the $7 billion money tree we know as Jordan Brand. Nike won the Jordan sweepstakes over Converse and Adidas for two reasons: a first-of-its-kind royalty deal and a shoe. A brand. A movement completely designed and centered around the rookie out of Chapel Hill. A gamble that was wild even by Michael Jordan standards. Sneaker culture as we know it today started with the Air Jordan 1, but the shoe itself was only the beginning. Designed by Peter Moore, the Jordan 1 debuted the Air Jordan Wings logo on a fully leather upper with Nike Air cushioning. Although the design and construction of the shoe was relatively simple compared to today's standards, it was still miles ahead of the curve. But Nike didn't just break barriers with the shoe, they also broke rules. The NBA's uniform guidelines at the time included a rule that required players' shoes to be 51% white, which essentially held shoe design back for years and wiped away any progress Puma made with Clyde Frazier in the flare and swag category for signature sneakers. Legend has it, the Jordan 1's audacious red and black colorway forced the NBA to fine MJ $5,000 every time he wore them on the court. Well, technically, it was a Nike Airship, a close cousin to the Jordan 1 that MJ wore while his first shoe was being perfected. There's no evidence that Nike ever actually paid any fines, but that didn't stop them from capitalizing on the moment. They decided to lean into the controversy, which led to one of the greatest marketing campaigns in sports history being born out of a simple dress code violation.
On September 15th, Nike created a revolutionary new basketball shoe. On October 18th, the NBA threw them out of the game.
It was the original disruptor. It certainly changed so much of what we know within sneakers, and seeing it on foot still to this day continues to just show it's one of the best that's ever been done.
The Jordan 1 represented a turning point in culture, but the Jordan 3 is what solidified MJ as the godfather of sneakers. The Jordan 2 was a miss, so Nike had to pull out all the stops with the 3 to stay in MJ's good graces. Not only was it the shoe that kept Jordan at Nike, it was also the first Jordan to feature the Jumpman logo, an emblem that took the Jordan line from just a subsidiary of Nike to its own standalone brand identity. Designer Tinker Hatfield is to thank for keeping Jordan from jumping ship to Adidas. It's the biggest what if in sneakers that is one we are likely better off without.
The 3 is just as important, if not more important, than the Air Jordan 1. If the Jordan 3 never happened, what happens to basketball and sneakers as a whole? Because that was the shoe, that was the model that had staying power for him with Nike.
He just completely rewrote the script of player endorsement deals.
Oh, man, and he tomahawked it down.
It's like he has a jet propeller somewhere.
Everybody calls him Air Jordan, and this is why.
He paved the way for so many others to come after him and have their own lines, because once Nike landed Jordan, all the other brands were playing catch up.
With this new and improved model for a signature athlete, Jordan challenged brands to think outside the box with more creative designs, storytelling, and marketing. The business boomed. Sneakers were fun. Companies like Reebok experimented with their own air technology in the Reebok pump, while their signature headliner Allen Iverson broke the league dress code in his own way, ultimately making his line the new face of rebellion in footwear.
Oh, no! AI has it going on. That is a sensational move from Allen Iverson.
But nobody ever really did catch up to the Jumpman. Even other Nike athletes like Penny Hardaway couldn't touch Jordan despite memorable campaigns.
I guess Spike Lee wasn't available.
Turns out, winning 6 championships and 5 MVPs is a pretty unbeatable marketing strategy. Michael Jordan was just mystifying, and there was only one explanation for his airness.
It's gotta be the shoe. Shoe. Money's gotta be the shoe.
It wasn't until after Jordan retired that we would see the next wave of signature athletes take over. Technology continued to improve while restrictions on designs and colorways started to loosen. Over time, the league went from requiring players' shoes to be mostly white, to allowing shoes to incorporate team colors, to approving special colorways that debuted on holidays like Christmas and Easter, to finally lifting all restrictions in relation to shoe color in 2018. From then on, basketball shoes became a blank canvas for designers and athletes to make statements on and off the court.
The stories were finally able to be told from a fun way, from pure imagination. I think it allowed players to express themselves more.
The NBA lifting the color restriction has really just opened the aperture for these signature headliners in terms of storytelling. And I think that players have kind of took it and run with it. They want to have not only the loudest sneaker on the court, but one that has some meaning behind it.
Today, Signature athletes are involved more than ever in the design process. With the guardrails removed, they're able to tell their stories and symbolize their career accomplishments through something tangible that can be shared and appreciated by fans around the world. This isn't limited to NBA players either. The WNBA has their own set of superstars following in the footsteps of legends like Sheryl Swoops and Dawn Staley, delivering top-shelf silhouettes that are taking the hoops community by storm. The list of players with signature shoe deals now seems endless. We've reached the pinnacle of performance-driven footwear while keeping premium design at the forefront. From collabs to player exclusives to the reimagining of classic silhouettes, the sneakerheads and hoopers of today have been spoiled with limitless heat. For better or worse, the market is absolutely flooded with competition as brands both new and old continue to chip away at market share. If the past is any indication of the future, competition will always breed innovation. And as the stars of yesterday write the final chapters of their careers, the stars of tomorrow are lacing up, and the race for the next frontrunner in footwear is on.